Sean O'Connell Show in hour number 3 here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. We have PBR tickets to give away at the end of the show. Delta Center, February 6th and 7th. And Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide, coming to Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on June 3rd this year. We'll give those away at the end of the show today as we do some crosstalk with Spence Checkets. Right now, we're lucky enough to welcome my friend and our Utah Mammoth insider, Adrian Denny, here to our Broadway studios. Adrian, I've been here in the studio and behind our very strange closed windows. I don't see how blustery. Are we actually having a winter day today?
You can feel the low pressure.
Okay.
You can feel it.
You're bundled up for once.
Yeah, I'm freezing. Walking into the building, it's like, gosh, this is winter. It feels like a storm's coming in. So buckle up. I just checked my weather app and it says it is snowing in Salt Lake.
Oh,
so.
All right. We need it, I guess.
Sure.
It's good for all of us. Let's talk a little Utah Mammoth hockey. We discussed the last time we spoke the importance of certain games on this road trip. Handle business in Nashville. Wonderful to see. 2-0 loss to Tampa, and then I'll be honest with you, I was like, Florida on a back-to-back on the road, that's a really tough out. But boom, Mammoth victory, baby.
I think we were all feeling the same way going into Florida with the amount of energy and emotion and wear and tear that was sustained in Tampa Bay on Monday in a game where they played really well. Just gave up 2 power play goals. Didn't allow a 5-on-5 goal to the Lightning, who are the second highest scoring team in the NHL and leading the NHL in scoring in January. And then you go to Florida. You're in Florida, but you go to South Florida to take on the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers on a back-to-back, as you said, with some game-time decisions. The Mammoth had 2 extra defensemen taking warm-ups because they weren't sure on a couple of guys, and one of those that we think was a game-time decision was Sean Dursey, who, I don't know if you saw his face last night, but there was, below the eye, above the eye, the poor nose, quite the sight that Sean was last night, and had a kind of a rough first period. Gave the puck away 3 times, and before you knew it, he's the 3rd star of the game, scoring a go-ahead goal, throwing a puck to the net that was deflected home by Mikhail Sergachev from 27 feet away to make it 3-2 in the 3rd period. And isn't that hockey? Player like that, you don't even know if he's going to play, ends up being one of your top stars. But it was another box checked, I think, by the Mammoth in that game, because, as you see teams on back-to-backs, first period is usually okay, but then on the second and third, you can tell, oh, this team is a little low on energy. Decision making isn't great. Mammoth made some mistakes in the game. Gave the puck away twice to Florida's 4th line, and they scored unassisted goals. But they just never let it get away. They just kind of stayed with it, kept that composure, kept that patience, and found a way to emerge with 2 points. So really nice win. First time they've ever beaten Florida. They played some really good games against them, but I think, in January we've seen just some more steps taken. I think the latest one was taken last night in Sunrise.
Going back to the game against the Lightning, as you mentioned, you give up a couple shorthanded goals.
Power play goals.
Power play goals.
Yeah.
You is the special teams where it needs to be for this Mammoth team right now?
It's been hit and miss. Right? So you give up those 2 power play goals in Tampa Bay. That's the game, 2-0. Last night in Florida, 4 for 4 on the penalty kill, and you scored a shorthanded goal. So your PK does a complete flip of the script. The power play going into Tampa Bay was 2 for the last 3. Had scored 2 huge third-period goals in the last 2 games, one against Philly last Wednesday and one against Nashville, after you just killed a penalty to make the game 4-2. So it's been up and down. I feel that the shortcomings of the special teams, the power play and the penalty kill, has been more magnified than when special teams actually does something to help them win a game, like it did last night with the penalty kill and the shorthanded goal. But gosh, you know those items help you win games and help other teams win games. So it's big. So now you've gone 2 straight games without a power play goal. You got the PK back on track. So to answer your question, probably just a little more consistency in getting those big power play goals. Because in Tampa Bay on Monday, you entered the game 2 for your last 3. You go 0 for your first 2, and you have 5 shots, some good chances. Power play looked fine until the third period. You're down 1-0, and nothing happened. No shots, couldn't keep the puck in, couldn't get the first unit off to get the second unit on to try something different. Like it was a struggle. So hit and miss is how I describe it. And it's just like, the Mammoth not getting their first ever 6-on-5 goal until last Wednesday. But other teams in the NHL do. And that helps them get points, and they're competing against you because they're getting 6-on-5 goals, and they're getting, another power play goal or 2 that you're not. So in the big picture, it hurts you in the standings when you're not measured up average.
I heard Bill Armstrong talking about this the other day about how the 6-on-5, you pull your goalie, and it's for people who've been watching the Mammoth, and a lot of people are newish to hockey, right? And it has looked like kind of a fool's errand. Like, why do you do this? It doesn't make a ton of sense because the results haven't been there. But it's a tried and true method in hockey that, yes, is a desperation move in a lot of cases, but there's reasoning behind it. And it was funny to see how long funny might be the wrong word, but interesting to see how long it took for it to work out, translate to a goal and the victory eventually.
And it wasn't a 6-on-5 goal that you're ever going to see again. It was Clayton Keller ripping the puck away in the defensive zone because Utah could not keep Philadelphia away from their empty net.
Yes.
Schmaltz ripped a puck away. Keller knocked a puck away as Philly's trying to score in an empty net. And Jack McBain was able to block a shot. And then all of a sudden, Clayton Keller rips the puck away, skates down, gets around a Philly defenseman in Travis Sanheim, who's going to the Olympics, walked around him and scored an unassisted 6-on-5 goal. Never seen it before in my life.
Went airborne to do it, to get over the I mean, it was reminiscent of NHL 94. If you remember playing that game on Nintendo or on Sega Genesis, you had to the goaltenders in that game unable to react to you going across the face of the goal. That's exactly what he pulled off. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was nice. And you pull the goalie to give yourself a power play in the final 2 minutes. It's like, all right, all or nothing here.
Yeah, let's go.
So you're 6-on-5, and you're thinking, all right, we've got the advantage. This is a power play, but hadn't been able to get one, and did get one against Philly in the most unconventional of ways that you'll ever see.
So 4-3 against the Panthers for the first win against the Panthers, like you said. And this is a Panthers team that is back closer to absolute full strength. So is that more meaningful because of who the Panthers had available?
When Utah played them in December, they lost 4-3, giving up the goal in the final minute. They still had their identity. It still looked like the Florida Panthers. They still had that Stanley Cup fabric. Sergei Bobrovsky was still making big saves. Florida got Brad Marchand back over the weekend, got a game-winning goal on their road trip, got Matthew Tkachuk back last week. They'd won 3 in a row going into the game, coming off of a road trip. And as we said, Utah has played them good. A game they lost the final minute, an overtime loss, a game that was 2-1 last year, going down the stretch before the Panthers got a couple empty netters. So they played them good, like a lot of teams. And they just were able to just drag the game out to a point that they were able to manage it. And as we talked about the start of that 7-game homestand, Andre Tourney was talking about game management we're doing everything right, but now we need to manage the game and manage situations. And I think Utah did that. I also think Utah got another schedule break, OC, because for Florida, that was kind of a road game because they were on a 3-game trip, came back, played one road game, or played that home game, and now they're back on the road. They left today for St. Louis after they were just on a trip that took them Winnipeg, Minnesota, Chicago, go back to South Florida, play one game, and then go to
Random
St. Louis. So I think they got a scheduling break there because that felt like a road game for the Panthers.
We've talked about Vitek Vanacek in the past about like whether or not he's playing up to the standard that they need to be able to maintain in the rare rest that Veggie gets, and he gave up 3 goals last night, but ultimately it's a win, only his 3rd win of the year in the Mammoth goal. But what do you think of his performance against Florida?
Very solid. Biggest thing in that game, OC, and Vitek has been in some tough situations this year. 8 of his 13 starts have been in some kind of back-to-back for Utah, either the first game or second game. 7 of his 13 starts have come in the second half of a back-to-back. So, we talked about, some mental mistakes. Has Utah been perfect in front of him? No. The biggest thing last night was Vitek being able to get settled in to the game. He's had 3 starts this year where he's given up a goal in the first 3 minutes. You're behind, and then you're playing a completely different style really the rest of the way to try and erase the deficit, and you're in a -1. So he made 2 saves early, and I really felt sorry for him that he gave up that goal with 15 seconds left because stopping, 25 of 28 doesn't look as good as, or 27 to 30 by the time it was all said and done with, doesn't look as good as stopping 27 out of 29. But let in 3 goals. Mammoth got the win. Everybody was happy for Vitek. It's the first time this year they've gotten him some goal support. First time in 13 starts they've got him 4 goals. It had been 3 or less, and usually 0, 1, or 2 when he's been starting. So the Mammoth were happy. He was happy as he returned to Florida, where he hoisted that Stanley Cup last June and got his first win since October 26th against his former team, and a big win for the Mammoth to take 2 of the first 3.
Now, this is a behind-the-scenes type question, but the NHL has passed off disciplinary duties to the Department of Player Safety. Help me put this in perspective for the new fan. So supplemental discipline for the violation of league rules is now going to be handled by the Department of Player Safety, which has been they've been handling like physical infractions in the past, but is this a significant change?
I think it's just kind of an expansion of their current role, just a little more ownership of it, a little less by committee, just some streamlining for a job that they basically do already, is how I take it.
So if you're wondering how this is different than before, so if you threw in like an illegal check in the past that resulted in an injury, the Department of Player Safety was going to handle the discipline for that, and that makes a lot of sense. All the other league policies, the language, and Jersey got hit with the lip reader thing the other night, the inappropriate gestures, uniform violations, things like that. It was all previously handled by a vice president of the league. It was like a sort of unilateral type conversation thing. And now the player safety committee is going to handle all those. So like you said, bringing more under the umbrella of what they're already doing.
Yeah. And they do have some former players in that department. George Peros, the big guy who played for the Ducks for a number of years, involved in that. And they like to put players in, league positions like that. They like to put players as linesmen, as referees, just for the aspect of those guys have been in locker rooms. Those guys have been on the ice. And I think the NHL has done a good job of getting relatable people into positions, both on the ice and off the ice, to manage things.
Who is, in your mind, the best American-born NHL player ever? I asked this question while I give you time to deliberate because Patrick Kane has tied Mike Modano for the points record by an American-born player. And he's 37, so he's in the twilight of his career and all that stuff. But, both of those names now synonymous with some really good years of American hockey, both in the NHL, obviously, and their representation of Team USA. But we talk about the greatest to ever play the game, and a lot of times it's stacked up with Canadians for obvious reasons. You talk about some of the great goaltenders, and they're either Canadian or they're Swedish or whatever.
Yeah.
So who's the best American NHLer?
So you mentioned Mike Modano, Patrick Kane. You got Jeremy Roenick, had over 500 goals. Currently, how about a player like Austin Matthews with Toronto? Ironically enough, a kid that grew up in Arizona and California as one of the faces of hockey in Canada. We got Clayton Keller out of the St. Louis area, going to be representing Team USA, and so happy for Clayton because he's just so proud, and he's been working for that.
That's really cool
for forever. But when you say Austin Matthews, I don't think you're too far off of Clayton Keller looking down the list. So I like Patrick Kane, how he's kind of been able to, have a 2.0 version of his career after those 3 seasons winning Stanley Cups with Chicago, and then they kind of went to the rebuild, and he's gone on to Detroit and been a big part of that team that hasn't made the playoffs in over a decade to now, it looks like they'll be back this year. Not only that, but they've been leading the Atlantic Division for most of the season, and Kane's had a great couple years there in Detroit.
How much longer is this Mammoth team going to have to be without Logan Cooley? Sounds like his recovery is going very well.
You know what? He was on the ice skating in a non-contact jersey at morning skate on Monday.
Wow.
So that keeps us hovering in the neighborhood of what Bill Armstrong has said around the Olympic break, and it sounded lately like right after the Olympic break. How about last night, playing without Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther for just the 3rd time ever?
Wow. And got a win.
And picking up a win.
At Florida.
In Florida, scoring 4 goals.
Pretty awesome.
How about this for the Mammoth OC? Going back to mid-December, they're 7-1 after a loss, and they've scored over 4 goals a game in those contests. We saw a nice response last night, but that's kind of been the body of work that Utah's been laying out here over the last month and a half.
All right, before I let you go, I'm going to let you know something because you mentioned the Olympic break. So when the Olympics are part of the Sean O'Connell show, what we do is we assign particular experts in the sports. Hockey would be too easy for you to be our Olympic hockey correspondent because we're naturally going to make you that.
Sure.
So you have the opportunity to choose another Olympic discipline. You're the first person, so none have been claimed, and you get to be my Olympic expert in curling, ski jumping, whatever it is, so that each time while the Olympics are going on, we have a discussion, you're going to give us an update on that particular sport as well. You can choose now. You can deliberate and text me. You can let us know whenever, but that is a duty that you're going to be assigned whether you like it or not.
I'm going to say alpine skiing.
Okay.
Downhill skiing.
Downhill skiing.
I love to ski.
All right.
I love watching the skiing, but the Nordic skiing, the cross-country skiing.
Are you getting into that?
I love to cross-country ski, too. So if you get somebody that says alpine skiing, you're like, well, you kind of got a guy, but he also cross country skis, so you can have that. I'll take Nordic.
Okay. All right. Your cross-country skiing updates will be brought to you by does that mean biathlon also?
No, just the skiing, not
Okay.
not the archery and stuff like that. Just
What
you don't
biathlon in the Winter Olympics is cross-country skiing and shooting a rifle, right? Isn't that what it is?
rifle or bow and arrow, something like that.
It's like it's such a weird mix. I mean, I guess it makes sense from like if you live in Finland and you are out in the Lapland area, that's just your life. You just cross country ski, find a reindeer, shoot it, bring it back, and they turn it into an Olympic sport. It's wild.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
a cross country skier through the meadows, through the mountains.
All right.
I don't stop to do archery.
So in addition to your hockey expertise, we will lean on your Nordic skiing expertise.
That sounds great.
Perfect.
That sounds fun.
Our Winter Olympics Nordic skiing correspondent and hockey Utah Mammoth insider, Adrian Denny. It has a great ring to it.
Perfect.
All right.
It's OC, as you know, as days go on and years go on professionally, you got to keep evolving.
Absolutely.
Or you're out the door, you're done, and you can't find another gig.
If you're doing the same thing over and
Yeah.
over, if you don't expand your horizons to Nordic skiing, I mean, what chance do you have?
Yeah, I'm in.
All right. Love it. Thanks for coming in, as always.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
That's Adrian Denny, our Utah Mammoth Insider, brought to you by our friends over at Aladdin Industries, your Utah Velux dealer.